Yes. Max Healthcare looks great. There was a big consolidation in the last 6 months actually, and that consolidation has broken on the upside. In the medium term outlook, definitely looks great. Every time it dips down, it takes support at 20 and 40 daily moving average, which is a good sign for the stock, and making higher tops, higher bottom after that. So resuming the uptrend. In the very short term, positive. In the medium term, definitely positive. In the short term, the support would be around 1254, and the next support for the medium term outlook would be 20 daily moving average, which is 1217. I'll be looking for a short term target of at least 1350, and for the medium term outlook, probably above 1400 as well.
Saumil, where is Reliance headed? What are your thoughts there?
Reliance definitely has positive views, definitely positive views in medium term outlook. A small consolidation in the last, 2.5 months between 1460 and 1390. This consolidation has broken on the upside. So the new leg on the upside has started on the weekly charts. From here, the supports for the medium term outlook definitely remains at 20 daily moving average, which is 1460. And the next support on the downside, which is the swing low, which is 1434, that will be a very crucial support as well. I think the medium term outlook remains a positive. The next level would be 1600 all-time highs, and even above that. So I remain very positive on the markets, reliance on the heavyweights as well.
Right, okay, that's the take coming in on Reliance Industries. Let's now welcome on board Hemang Jani, Bhavin Mehta, and talk about what they're making of the market setup. Hemang, hi, morning. Let me start off with you first. What's it that you're making of the market structure? I guess all things in control, at least when it comes to the macro data points, when it comes to India. But I guess all eyes now would be on what happens on the tariff front. At least some good news if you were to take any cues from the Vietnam-US deal.
Yeah, good morning, Aisha. Thanks for having me. I think broadly, both global setup and in terms of a domestic market, things are looking quite stable. And the key factor to watch out would be the earnings season. The previews have started flowing in, and it remains to be seen if we have any positive, surprises in terms of growth, etc. And of course, the monsoon progress. But having seen a big recovery in the indices, both in terms of Nifty and the broader market, and the feel good which is coming in because of the global stability, there is a sense that you will see a little bit of momentum when it comes to flows, given how the dollar index is performing. And but we badly need good triggers in terms of earnings, because last 2-3 quarters the Nifty earnings is barely about 4-5%. So you need some sort of a positive surprise to justify the valuations.
Hemang, the other stock in news is Nykaa this morning. What are your thoughts there?
So hi Nikunj, see, Nykaa has been a stock which has given a lot of promise, but hardly seen any major move, unlike what we've seen in case of other platform companies. And the numbers are also not looking that great. You keep hearing some people trying to exit out of it and all of that. The only time when it does a little bit of momentum is when you see a little bit of flows because of the indices weight increase, etc. If I was to pick something within the new age companies, I definitely would go with Swiggy or Eternal or Policy Bazaar and not Nykaa.
Yeah, given that one of the early investors is looking to offload part stake in the company, let's see how FSN e-commerce actually opens up in trade today. But let me welcome on board Bhavin as well. Bhavin, hi, morning. Any observations in terms of individual stocks or sectoral trends?
Good morning. Yes, so we have been positive on markets, believe that Nifty high probability will move closer to level of about 25,700 to 25,800 on upside. On the downside, we have a very strong base which is closer to 25,200, where we had seen a strong breakout last month, specifically in the last week of the trade. Now, having said this, there are two stocks that we are currently focusing on. One is from life insurance company, which is SBI Life. In fact, we have seen a very strong trend across the board for most of the life insurance players, be it HDFC, Max, SBI Life. So this stock has potential to move closer to this 52-week high, which is closer to 1935. Recommending a long here with the stop loss of 1800. Stock is currently quoting somewhere around 1855 to 1856 level on the spot. Second one is Bharat Forge. A very strong base formation. Stock has been consolidating in the range of 1250 to 1300 kind of level. We are looking at a strong move above 1300 in trade. Anticipating a move closer to 1420 over a period of 1.5 months with the stop loss of 1260 on the downside.
Okay. Let's look at some big names here. SBI and Reliance. What are your views there?
So when we look at Reliance in particular, this stock has a very good amount of strength, good amount of long development over last couple of weeks. We have seen a very strong breakout over last few days for Reliance, anticipating a move closer to potentially 1600 to 1650 on upside. Support on the downside currently remains around level of 1470, which is 20-day exponential moving average, as well as the previous breakout consolidation zone. Our sense is that stock is all placed for a strong move this series. We have been positive, and given the kind of aggression that we have seen from the buyers on the derivative side, anticipating move on upside, particularly for this name. As far as SBI is concerned, what we are anticipating is that this stock is largely ranged between level of 775 on the downside to 820. Our view is that till the time stock is not able to cross above 825 level on the upside, we will continue to see a trading range for this name. The moment it breaks out above level of 825 on a closing basis, one should get aggressive on the long side for possible move towards level of 860.
Right, okay. Let's talk about some more stocks which are going to be in focus. And Sheela Foam, that's the one that's on our radar as the resignation letter of its outgoing CEO now surfaces. The letter has parts censored in it. ET now has tried to decode the blackened portions, and we've not received any reply to the queries that were sent by the channel. Sharad is in fact here to get us more details on what exactly, Sharad, does the resignation letter say?
Well, that's the question which everybody wants to know. Of course, the resignation was announced in March itself, but the relieving letter as a corporate disclosure, that has raised questions, especially because a lot of paragraphs to be there, actually 2 paragraphs have been actually blackened. So what's the meaning of it? The investor community also wants to know why this has been not actually given out, and overall the disclosure norms also is being questioned. Now the attempts were made to actually figure out what the hidden portion is, and then we also wrote and also gave messages to the company and their management, but no reply has come to all the queries sent by ET now, and you could see the company itself, the incomplete corporate disclosure has been happening. So of course we would be actually asking the company as well as the regulators that what is the reason why the disclosure has not been complete, and of course we are awaiting clarification from the company as well. So this is the entire story for Sheela Foam's disclosure, and of course this year itself the stock is down 30% as well.
Which are some of the other frauds in India Inc. Where governance concerns are there, Sharath?
Well, 3 important issues have been raised. First is Environ Infra. That's a company that's roughly 11 crore cyber fraud which has been reported by the company itself, and from company's account this has been transferred to unidentified bank accounts. Of course, cyber police has been alerted, and interestingly the management would like to pay it out from their own accounts until this amount is actually secured. Kotiak Industries, that is also in the news. It's an SME company, but the media reports suggest that there was Rajasthan's agriculture minister had gone to RICO and their industrial places where there was allegations especially coming in on tax compliances and toxic seeds and even fake fertilizers. Now, company came out with its report and they had stated that they're strongly denying these allegations and their operations in their Rajasthan plant are still normal. Now, lastly, large cap company Max Financial Services is also in focus. Their arm Axis Max Life, they have received a communication from an anonymous sender who claimed to have authorized access to the certain customer data as well. Now, the company has stated that they have started the investigations. Of course, a lot of cyber frauds are happening and companies are reporting and investigation process is going on.
Yeah, a lot of cyber crimes out there and one really needs to be vigilant. But thanks for highlighting all that news flow right now. Let's move on and let's talk about what else has been making headlines. And we've been talking about a various amount of stocks that are going to be in focus and that are on our radar. But let's talk about Interglobe Aviation and Max Healthcare. That seems to be on par or at least in the pipeline according to a couple of brokerages for a Nifty inclusion. So those are two stocks definitely that we're going to be looking out for. The one which could be making its way out definitely is going to be IndusInd Bank. So that's also something which is on our radar too. But Hemang, what is your own sense on IndusInd Bank in particular? I mean, lot of news flow, but would you think that the worst perhaps is already baked into the price? Is it behind us right now?
So surprisingly, IndusInd Bank has seen a very sharp, revival in the last probably a month or so. Once the worst of the news was in the air, and now it remains to be seen, Aisha, who is identified as the CEO and what kind of team do we have at hand. Remember that the basic structure of the bank is good in terms of the distribution, in terms of the deposit franchise that it has. So having seen a major write-off and most of the negatives being out of the way, people would want to relook at some of these stocks. But I do think that banking as a pack could underperform. We've started seeing early signs of that. I think most of the positive news are trying to be the rate cut or possible growth that one is really looking at. And if you look at this preview per se, the loan growth is going to be muted across. So I'm not too positive on the banking, at least from the near-term perspective.
But if you think banking may be showing signs of fatigue, that could happen to the rest of the market as well, purely because of the weightage of banks on the index, right, Hemang?
So Aisha, I think that you will see a bit of a sector rotation. So now what you're seeing is that some of the commodities are doing pretty well. Pharma has really bounced back in a meaningful way. And depending upon whatever the previews throw up, you might see some other sectors really, giving you some sort of a stability, be it capital goods or cement, so on and so forth. So market broadly may consolidate. I'm not looking at a deep correction in the market, given how the setup is. But of course, there is going to be an interesting sector rotation at play.
Okay, let's go to Varun now. And Q1 updates have come out. And Varun's got details on some banking names where the quarterly update is already out.
Definitely. The quarterly updates for many of the banks and NBFCs have come out. And let me tell you stock wise. First of all, let me speak about M&M Finance. If you look at the overall quarterly update, it has been on the weaker side because if you look at the overall disbursement, they are just up by around 1% on a YOY basis to around 12,800 crores, and overall business assets have jumped out by around 15%. The collection efficiency has been 95%, but if you look at the stage 2 and stage 3 assets, a little bit of slip has been seen over there because it is expected to be in the range of 3.8 to 3.9% the stage 3 assets versus 3.7% in the month of March, and the stage 2 assets they are expected to be in the range of 5.8 to 5.9% versus 5.4% in the month of March. And basically if you look at M&M Finance, this is one of the number that is closely looked upon, and a little bit slip in stage 2 and stage 3 assets will be actually taken negatively by the street. Now let me speak about PNB. The overall updates are a little bit weak. If you look at the overall global business, that is up by around 11.6%. The deposit growth has been good. The domestic deposit growth has been 12.2%, global deposit 12.8%. But the global advances, it has been up by around 9.9%. That is, it is in the single digit. And actually, if you look, they are at multi-quarters low. So this is going to be one of the pain points for PNB. Now for CSB Bank, the growth has been good. Total deposit is up by around 20%. CASA is up by around 14%. Gross advances has shown a growth of around 32%. And also the advances against gold and gold jewelry is up by around 36%. So that's a good sign. Although CSB has been growing at this pace, so that pace has been maintained. So other than CSB, also keep an eye on Muthoot and Manappuram because of this gold advances that the company has shown. For Indian Bank, the overall numbers looks good because the overall business has grown by around 10.2%, deposit is up by around 9.3%, and global advances is up by around 11.3%. In the previous quarter, the overall growth has slowed down, but in this quarter, it looks that the overall growth has again rebounded for Indian Bank. So for Indian Bank and CSB, the numbers look good. For PNB, global advances are weak, and for M&M Finance, the stage 2 and stage 3 assets, they have actually slipped, so that could be a reason of concern for M&M Finance.
Samal, this week we've seen a comeback in PSU banks. Is that real?
Yes, I think a few banks are looking great. Can Bank is looking good. Even PNB is looking good. I won't bet on everything, but even Bank of Maharashtra is looking good. So I would be going very stock specific here. I don't want to go all in with all the PSU banks, but specifically Canara Bank and PNB both are looking good. Very recently I had mentioned Canara Bank on your channel as well for a target of 120, 125. I think in the medium term outlook, this stock looks very good. 108 would be the stop loss, and you can keep trailing the stop loss as it goes higher.
Okay. Hemang, why is SBI trading at these levels? It's cheap, it's got size, it's got scale, it's got it's got just about everything, yet the stock is underperforming.
Obviously, Nikunj, if you see last 3 quarterly numbers, we've hardly had any meaningful growth, PPOP as well as, the overall profitability spreads. I think there is a sense of fatigue that one can really sense from these numbers. And, unless you see a meaningful revival in the credit growth, which is like, 12, 13% in the best of the, numbers that one is really talking about. The only thing is that if the bank is able to raise a meaningful money through QIP or any other route, as we are hearing that there could be a 25,000 crore kind of a QIP, if they're able to do somewhere around the current price, definitely that would be one trigger that one can really look at. But I do think that there are better pockets to really look at where you see a better surprise in terms of the numbers for this quarter.
Hemang, since you track Avenue closely, tell me what is it that you're making of this standalone revenue that they've actually declared, which is up 16.25%, and the store addition as of June 30th, which is now at 424. Do you think it matches up with your, or rather the street expectations?
What we have seen in case of DMart or Avenue Supermart is that there is a bit of a positive surprise in terms of revenue growth, 15-16%, which is definitely good both YOY and quarter on quarter. The store addition has been also reasonably decent, and the revenue per store also is growing. So yes, from a near-term perspective, now that the stock has underperformed so much over the last 2 years and you are seeing this positive numbers come through, you might see a bit of a catch-up at play when it comes to price. But if you are looking at a slightly, 1 or 2 year kind of a horizon and 81 times, 67 times 27 PE over the stock growing at 15-16%, a lot of disruption that can, possibly be there. So not comfortable entering into it purely in terms of valuations.
Samal, what is your own sense on the charts right now for Avenue Supermarts? Because while it's lifted off from those 3,300, 3,500, thereabout 52-week lows, it's still continuing to face that hurdle around that 4,300 price zone.
Still consolidating actually in a broad range. 380 3,850 is the lower end, and on the higher end, 4,550. It's a very broad range, and it has been in this range for a little while now. Uh, I will wait for a breakout on the upside. Anything above 4,550, I think that will be a good breakout, and that will be a good time to buy in this stock. I won't be surprised if it goes down to 3,900 or 3,800 levels in the coming few weeks, and then again, consolidating in the same range, and then giving a breakout on the upside. So very sideways expectations. Medium term still remains positive. So buy on decline should be the strategy around 4,000, 3,900 levels.
Right, okay, that's the take coming in on the charts of Avenue Supermart. So that's definitely one stock which is going to be in focus. Other than that, of course, like we've been flagging off, bunch of other names which are also on our radar. There's, of course, Tata Steel, the AGM takeaways, wherein the Tata Sons chairperson, that's N. Chandra, has actually reiterated their focus on the cost of production and operating efficiencies, which is going to be one of their focal points. So that's something that they have definitely flagged off. And other than that, there's Hindustan Zinc as well, wherein they've actually posted the highest ever Q1 mined metal production, which is an uptick of about almost 1% on a year-on-year basis. And the refined metal production is down about 5% on a YOY basis. Bhavin, let's get a chart check going on both these names. That's Tata Steel as well as Hindustan Zinc, because metals have been, in a bullish trend of late.
Sure. So if you look at Tata Steel in particular, yesterday we have seen a very strong volumes in trade. Stock was quoting somewhere around 165. It has also cleared the previous month's highs. So both May and June highs have been cleared. There was good amount of OI addition on the trade, which makes a clear case that if momentum sustains in trade today, high probability we will be looking for a move towards level of 175 on the upside. At the same time, on downside, the kind of formation that we have seen on an immediate basis, I believe that 159 to 160 range remains a good support zone. Last 4 days of consolidation around that particular level. On other hand, slightly longer term view, if you look at the support remains lower around level of 145 to 150. So given the overall positioning, I am anticipating a strong move to continue, provided the stock should sustain the gains that we have seen in trade yesterday. As far as Hindustan Zinc Zinc is concerned, we have seen some aggressive blocks last month. The stock has reversed from level of about 550 to close to about 450 odd now. Anticipating this stock to make a strong move once it clears level of 455 on upside on closing basis. If that is crossed, anticipating a very strong move towards level of 510 to 520 on upside. At the same time, on downside, I am anticipating this stock to hold level of 440, which should remain a very good base for the stock.
All right, so that's the take coming in on select metal counters. But today we have a whole host of these updates coming in from the financial space. We have the updates coming in from M&M Finance, wherein the overall disbursement has seen a jump of just 1%. So numbers overall and the updates overall seems to be on the weaker side. The PNB also did come out with a weak set of updates, while we have seen the gross advances inching higher by over 9.5%, while on the flip side, the deposits have shown a growth of 12%. But the story is very good for CSB Bank, because herein we see the deposits seeing a growth of 20%, but in comparison to that, the advances have seen a jump of 32%, as well as the advances against gold and gold jewelry have seen an uptick of 36%. But Hemang, wanted to get a sense from you that how do you read into the numbers? If you can help us with your take specifically on PNB as well as CSB Bank, because for PNB, not a great set is what we are getting to understand, while for CSB, a good set rather. But does that mean for some of the other gold financiers, this could actually bode well?
So I think the companies which have reported numbers, if you leave aside Avenue Supermart, these are all very small companies. Of course, M&M is a mid-cap company, but others are all too small and they are not really reflecting the underlying growth in the sector per se. But if you look at the numbers, whatever they've reported, my M&M Finance, very subdued sort of numbers, hardly any growth to talk about. And yes, some of the PSU banks, the YOY growth looks quite okay. It's PNB, etc. But I think the way the stocks are actually showing a bit of a momentum is beyond the numbers. Maybe people have some, other expectation in terms of M&A or some other thing. So not really, looking at these numbers, in a manner which can really surprise people on the positive side. So we should really focus on flows or quarterly reviews for the larger ones.
Samal, what is your own sense? Because for the last 2 weeks or three, actually, we've seen a significant outperformance by PSU banks. Do you think that's going to stay, or do you think that's also headed in for a pause?
I think it has to be very stock specific, as I said before as well. Very few stocks I'm liking. Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, still very sideways. There are not much triggers on the charts. I'm not expecting these stocks to do anything. On the big rallies or anything like that. But PNB is looking great in the medium term outlook. Canara Bank is looking great in the medium term outlook. Even the very smaller banks like Bank of Maharashtra is also looking great. But my preferred pick would be Canara Bank, and Canara Bank is definitely looking great for the targets of 125 and above as well. 108 should be the stop loss for Can Bank.
All right, 108 stop loss coming in from Can Bank. But Bhavin, just a quick chart check by you, specifically on CSB. The numbers look good, but what are the charts telling you?
So, if you look at last couple of days, we have seen a very strong move on CSB Bank. It has been a decent performer, moving from level of about 335 to 340 to current level of about 400. 400 level technically could also act as a psychological resistance level. We have not seen any major uptick on the volumes front. So anticipating this level to be very crucial. If the stock is able to cross that particular range on the upside, high probability that we are looking for a move towards level of 420, 422, which remains very crucial, and also the major all-time high for the stock. So need to cross 400 on the upside. At the same time, on downside, as long as the level of 380, 85 holds, I don't think there is any case of a concern for the stock.
Right, okay, that's that on CSB Bank. In the meantime, let's just take a look at what the market structure was yesterday. While, of course, we were down about almost 1% at one point in time. But on the other hand, there were stocks like Bajaj Finance, HDFC Bank, L&T, Geo Financials as well, and Reliance, which were the drag points. On the other hand, it was metals which was really holding up. So everything from a Tata Steel to a JSW, they were all leading the charts. Maruti did quite okay. Tata Motors, Hero Motorcorp, they were the ones which also held out. Hemang, it's been quite a mixed bag, this monthly dispatch figure from Motown this time around, and a little disappointing because one would have anticipated better numbers from the two-wheeler majors. What's been your read-through?
Yes, I think the numbers are not somehow reflecting any surprise per se, and now the focus would be on the progress of the monsoon and what kind of growth one can really expect around the festive season. One also has to reckon that some of these two-wheelers have corrected in a meaningful way. Let's say, for example, Bajaj also has corrected almost about 18-20% from the top. So, large part of this, slower growth that one is really talking about is pricing as far as two-wheelers are concerned. But I think Maruti, Ashok Leyland are the names that we like, not just from a monthly numbers perspective, but quarterly. This quarter, could have some positive surprise in terms of the revenue and margin for some of these companies. So some of these stocks we do like purely from a quarterly results perspective.
Right, okay, that's that on the Motown update. In fact, Bhavin, give us your own checklist of where is it that you see the entire auto group moving? Anything which is showing leadership or you think is going to stay weak?
Sure. So if you look at the entire structure of auto sector, Eicher Motor in particular has shown a very good amount of strength, good amount of OI addition. Volumes has been significantly on the higher side. We have seen stock moving from strength to strength from level of about 5,300 to now close to about 5,700 over last almost 2 weeks. Anticipating this momentum to continue, I believe that if it is able to cross 5,800, the next level to watch out for on this stock will be closer to 6,100 to 6,200. The view continues to remain very positive on this particular name. Second one on our radar is TVS Motor. This stock is trying to cross that all-time high level. We have seen good amount of call buying earlier in the series. Aggression clearly there on the long side. Last 3 days, we have seen some amount of drawdown coming up from the highs post the auto sales number. However, I am anticipating a strong move beyond 3,000 over next 1.5 months. On the downside, 2,800 definitely remains a good support. So view continues to remain very positive on both of these two-wheeler companies.
Okay, that's that on the two-wheeler pack. In the meantime, just, scanning through some of the other stocks which are going to be in focus. In Nestle, the fact that they're looking to add capacity now to Maggi noodles production, that something is, is something definitely that's on our radar. They are adding capacity with an investment of about 105 odd crore rupees, and this is going to be at their Sanand factory in Gujarat. So that's Nestle, which is also in focus. For Aurobindo Pharma, they've got a marketing approval for one of their drugs from the European Commission now. So that's also another stock which is going to be in focus. And then Nykaa, where we said that one of the early investors is looking to offload stake in a block deal. So that's the other stock which is also going to be in focus this morning. In fact, let's check in on some of those names. Nykaa is currently down about 2.5%. I want to see what Avenue Supermarts is up to after the quarterly updates came by and whether or not it's actually holding up or not. It's pretty much neutral right now, hovering around that 4,400 per share mark. For Hindustan Zinc, of course, it's been the highest ever Q1 mined metal production that they've seen on a year-on-year basis, although the stock is a lot more muted. And of course, Tata Steel post the takeaways of the AGM. That's also the other stock which is in focus. For Motilal Oswal AMC, they've now crossed 1.5 lakh crore rupees in terms of the AUM count. So that's the other stock that we're going to be looking out for. And then Coromandel International as well, wherein they've approved a CCI approval to acquire almost about 11 crore shares, equating to 53% of a stake in NACL Industries for a price consideration of 820 crore rupees. That stock holding higher by about almost 1% or so. But Hemang, before we let you go, just wanted to understand, you did talk about banks as to where you now see some signs of fatigue coming in, but where do you think the outperformance is actually going to be visible? And I ask because soon we're going to have the earnings as well, kick in.
Yeah, Aisha. So our take is that some of the cement companies you could see a bit of positive surprise, not just this quarterly numbers per se, but in terms of the M activity, in terms of the cement price movement. The sense one is getting is that you should see some momentum built up. Of course, commodities, given the way some of the underlying commodity price movement has been. You might see further action in names like Vedanta, Tata Steel, Hindalco, even Hindustan Copper, for that matter. Some of these commodities are the ones that we would definitely be, focusing upon. And we do think that, some of the mid caps which have corrected, and when the quarterly number expectations are put, something like PG, Electro Chloroplast, which has corrected quite a lot. And we do think that numbers per se would be reasonably good. Shakti Pump, we have a positive view. Some of the real estate companies, I think, by and large, will throw up good positive surprise this quarter.
Okay. Bhavin, what's your view on defense? Which is the best one in the defense space?
On the defense, what we are looking at particularly is a good amount of consolidation in near term for Hindustan Aeronautics. Earlier, we were looking at good amount of call buying. So as far as this stock holds 47.60 on the downside, anticipating a range trade with a potential move towards level of 5200. Now, if we talk about rest of the pack, we have seen a very huge deviation from their short-term averages. High probability that till the time base formation is not there, your risk-reward ratio will not be that favorable. So watching out for Hindustan Aeronautics in particular, but rest of the stock risk-reward ratio for the timing does not look favorable to.
Pretty much warming up into the pre-open rates. It's flat as flat can be for the Nifty once again, and flat for the index as well. Of course, individual stocks reacting to the news flow. But Hemang, great to have you on the show. Thanks for taking the time out. And Bhavin, let me come to you. Any mid-cap strategies that you would recommend to our viewers?
So we have already recommended two stocks on the long side. Over and above that, one should look for any weakness on Reliance Industry to accumulate. I am anticipating a strong move going forward. The stock has witnessed a very strong move over last 2 weeks. However, the anticipation is that this momentum on upside should continue. On the downside, I am not anticipating way below level of 1490 for the timing. So 1490 to 1510 would be ideal range for buying Reliance Industries.
HDFC Bank, Bhavan, what's your view there?
Yeah. So, post the HDB financial listing, we have seen some amount of correction in trade yesterday. The stock has good amount of strength around level of 1930, 1935 on the downside. So, any correction over next 1 or 2 trading session, given that trigger is already out, this particular range should be looked as a buying opportunity. On upside, I am anticipating a move closer to 2150, either this series or the next for this stock.
Saumil, what about your mid-cap strategies?
I have one. There's one stock, IGL, from the oil and gas pack, and this stock has started making hard tops, hard bottom. Very recently, it has just broken out of a range, trading above 200 daily exponential moving average, looking great here. And the next target for IGL would be around 232, and above that for a medium term outlook, I think 246 looks great. 200 daily moving average would be the stop loss, which is 209.
Okay. For the big brokerage call of the day, let's now go to Varun.
Well, so Macquarie has come out with an interesting note on financials, and they actually expect the margin issues in banks to be transient, and they expect banks to deliver a solid 15% EPS CAGR in next 3 years. They say that as PSU banks are actually losing market share to deposits on deposit, and they expect the EPS to decline in FY26. For NBFCs, the NIMs are expected to expand, the growth to decline, and after a recent rally, they are conscious on the overall life insurance space, and they prefer the general insurance space more than the life insurance space, because in life insurance they expect the APE growth challenges to be there in the near future. They prefer private banks more than anything else. HDFC Bank and Axis Bank are the top pick. Other than this, Aditya Birla Capital, PFC and Shriram Finance are amongst the top pick. For 5 stocks, they have actually